Loved by food fanatics and romantics, this seafood delicacy is surrounded by myth. Hi, I'm Rebecca Brayton and welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we'll be addressing some popular myths about oysters. I've heard this rule where you're not supposed to eat oysters outside of months that have an R in them. Tell us about that.
Basically, that quote comes from that period of time where there was no refrigeration, no transportation. So, hey, guess what? You don't want to travel in hot months with an oyster in your pocket where the temperature is 90 degrees. The other reason for that is that in the months where they're reproducing, let them have their time to reproduce and then you eat them again in the other months. That's not true anymore, however, because what happens is that most oysters aren't reproduced naturally. They take the seed, they reproduce them so they're a little bit sturdy in holding, then they put those out and they reseed that way. You know, the most important thing is water temperature. That's really what matters to an oyster. They don't care about what month it is, they don't care what day it is. So don't forget, where our temperature in North America is summer and July and hot, it's the perfect time there in the southern hemisphere. New Zealand oysters are just spectacular right now. So really, think about water temperature, not so much what months you're eating oysters in.
I noticed that some people have a concern about eating oysters raw. I mean, would you address that?
It's a raw food. It's a natural raw food. That's why you want to make sure you get it fresh as possible, a shucker you trust. There's always a risk. Every single oyster I open, I'm concerned, I double check it, I smell it, I look at it. If it doesn't look right, if it doesn't smell right, they're not getting it. But if we take the grand scheme of things, there's been more recalls on peanut butter, meat, eggs, than anything we've ever heard of oysters. The water temperature, the waters of all these oysters are checked constantly by the fisheries department. And so those waters are going to be pristine and great. And really, you'll know if you sip an oyster, if you taste an oyster, 90% of the time you're going to know. But really, you know, there's some other dangers out there with other stuff, so it's no more than anything else.
A lot of people like to shoot their oysters. What's your take on that?
You should appreciate the oyster you have. You're not going to taste it doused in the alcohol, shooting it back. A lot of people think you should just swallow an oyster. There's no food that you eat that you just swallow without chewing. You're going to miss all the flavors, all the tastes of it. The more you chew an oyster, the way the proteins fall on your tongue changes. It's going to have a more complex, richer flavor, and you begin to appreciate the oyster for what it is.
And would you address the oyster's reputation as an aphrodisiac?
An oyster has 9 calories each. They have a great amount of protein in them, like almost a third as much of a chicken breast. They have zinc, which is great for men, virility, and great for women in terms of aging. There's a natural hunger inhibitor in zinc. So you've got this great light tasting food that's light on your body, gives you great energy, and is good for you with all minerals and nutrients and vitamin B. Anytime you feel good, you're gonna feel like engaging with another individual. So that's my opinion on the aphrodisiac.
Is there anything else you think we should know about oysters?
Understand that oysters are such a vital part also of the ecosystem. These little guys, they're so vital for the environment. They filter 1 to 5 gallons of water a year. They take out 2 grams of nitrogen. I think that the statistic is for a year. So in 1 year, each oyster. So you think of the millions of oysters that are out there, they're cleaning all that water for us. They're saving the world, basically. So save an oyster, save the world, is my opinion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.